Hey guys, we're back again with it's going to be a little different this week as we'll be doing a double feature with Academy's 135th scale USS Indianapolis and IJN I-58 double kit in a premium boxing. Let's open her on up and take a look. Now this kit did come out with an outer shell for the boxing. However, it's quite difficult to get off, so I removed it before we started the video just to save time, as it would be quite challenging to do. Now, one thing I will remark, which is atypical, is I'm actually very impressed with the extra bit that they included, showing just the full assembly of the kit with all the details added. That's a nice little added touch. So, we're going to start off actually with the sub, since it's closest to me. And yeah, here we have our main hull for the I-58. Overall, the surface detailing is quite well done. There is some raised details. Need to double check references as to how accurate that is, but there is a combination of recessed as well. Overall, the sculpting is quite nice, and there's not too many issues I could really notice. Moving on to the upper hull, and just do a real quick fit test, since we can do that with these. Obviously, there's space for the bow planes. Overall, fit's not too bad. Might have, obviously, when you go to glue it, you're definitely going to want to rubber band it to keep it together while glue sets up. But beyond that, surface detailing is of a high quality. Decking is nicely in scale. Will take some time to detail it up if you choose to go that route, or if you choose to get a more basic version. And since this is in 350th scale, it is a decently sized. In terms of length, best comparison I have would be similar to Fuso or California in 1/700th scale that we looked at previously. Moving on, we have parts for more of the 58's deck and superstructure. Also a nicely included little nameplate, as well as all of the chitin torpedoes that the kit comes with. Alright. Continuing on, more of the base part. Now, this part up here, I am not 100% sure what exactly it's for. I've flipped through the instructions, and I'll check again, but I don't recall seeing that. I almost want to say it's an inner sport part for the sub, but again, we'll see when we get back into the instructions. Beyond that, we've got some additional torpedoes. Whether or not I'd say use is up to you. Got a personal idea of what I could use them for a separate project, but that's neither here nor there. Obviously, deck guns, a few other odds and ends, as well as other detailing parts. Of course, all the masts and the props, which thankfully are only a single connection, which will make getting them out a lot easier to both obviously work with and clean up. That basically does it for the I-58. Now, that's one nice thing about subkits is there's not a whole lot to them. So, let's move on to the cruiser now. Obviously, we get this nice large main water hull part. Again, it's quite significantly larger than what we've worked with previously. Detailing is more than adequate. Now let's move on to the upper hull. Do a quick test fit. I can get it to line up on me. There we go. Again, fits more than adequate, though you will want to make sure you secure it nice and well. Only thing I would say, it would be nice if the attachment pegs were just that much bigger. I'm not talking by much, maybe 1 or 2 millimeters, as it would make it just that much better. Now, if we go in close, take a look at some detailing. While the detailing here is not quite as sharp as was on the sub, it's still more than sufficient. So good job on that, Academy. Now, moving on, we've got obviously our front and aft deck parts. Again, some of the surface detailing is just not quite as sharp as the sub, but more than sufficient. We've got obviously a good chunk of our superstructure parts, which you're going to be building a decent amount of given the larger size. And surprisingly, they did break it down by a decent amount. Let's see if we can get in close to some detail. Apologies now in advance, just because this is a much larger kit, so I'm having to do this a much more distant angle than what we normally do. So I will be doing this a little more awkward than normal. Okay, continuing on, we've got some more deck parts as well as cranes and other masts and assemblies, as well as additional superstructure and obviously our smokestacks. You get this one additional crane for the scout plane. Overall, it's okay for plastic. Obviously, once we get into the photo etch, we can look at that version. And we also get some of the float for the scout plane on this sprue, with the rest being on another one. Okay. I'm only going to grab one of these sprues since it's a double. This sprue gives us more of the detail elements as well as the guns for the cruiser. Again, a lot of lifeboats, as well as additional parts as well for plane. In fact, you actually get 2 variants of scout planes. So that's one thing. You want to make sure you're going with the right one. All of our barrels and other odds and ends go on here. Okay. Tuning on, we got another structure part. Again, detailing here is sufficient for the scale. I'm not going to complain too much. Moving on, we've got some other odds and end detail parts, as well as our shafts, rudders, and smokestack covers on this sprue. Also got our radar. Again, it works for plastic, though photo etch will always be superior for something like this. And lastly, in terms of the sprues, we've got our little stand and nameplate. Always a nice addition, and love seeing that when it comes to kits like this. So give me a second to get everything back in, and then we'll move on to the added bits. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is the Premium Edition. One of the major inclusions is a set of wood decking for both the sub as well as the cruiser. Now, unfortunately, the cruiser only has this aft section with decking, even though there's some additional areas that could easily use that. So I don't know if maybe I just got a bum copy, or if this is indeed all that's supposed to be there. So that's one thing I will need to double check again, but is what it is. Continuing on, set these aside for now. this strange little hood box thing. I'm not quite sure what it is. Don't know if it's just as an added little display stand or what have you, but is what it is. Continuing on, we've got a lot of the mast and detail parts. Again, not taking these out simply because I don't want them going everywhere. Those are going to be for the sub, and then all of these are for the cruiser, including a nice set of metal barrels for all of the armaments. 2 more odds and end metal parts. We're moving on now to our decals. Apologies, I did not pop this open. That's on me. Okay, included you get a set of dry transfers for along the hull, set of water slides for the sub, which are nice and properly registered and good color. Oh, sorry, get that right. And similarly with the cruisers inclusions. All thumbs today. And not a lot else I can add there. And just gonna have to be careful maneuvering these dry transfers, because I really don't want to screw those up. Okay, now onto the photo etch, which you do get an extensive array of photo etch for both the cruiser as well as for the sub. Includes the bulk of all the small details, railings, etc. And now, obviously, let's get into the instructions now. We'll actually start with the sub again. All right. Okay. Now, interesting, they did also only do instructions making reference to some of the added parts. Is a nice. Okay, yeah, they do use that as a sort of inner. Missed that during my initial read for. But anyway, as I was saying, starts with the upper hull, building out from there, adding in a lot of the details and photo etch for working on the main superstructure for not superstructure bridge section, conning tower, and continuing on. Overall, a pretty simple build and not overly complicated. I would almost say on its own, if you're looking for a potential first naval kit, this is one to potentially consider. Now, moving on to Indy and her assembly. Now, this is a much different and much larger beast, starting with assembling the hull and building up through the deck for assembling her guns, superstructure, masts, and various sub-armaments for working on her cranes, float planes, and finishing her out. Now, as this thing has a massive, massive amount of photo etch, and I'm not even sure which one of these is technically supposed to be first, so we'll just start here. Obviously, they include all the photo etch instructions as separate add-ons, which is very extensive. I mean, by itself, as the standard edition, it's a complicated build sequence, but adding this in ups the challenge significantly. This is another kit you're going to be in for the long haul. Again, building up the radar dish alone is going to add substantial time and effort to doing this kit. And that's even before you do all of the very, very extensive details that are going to go into this thing. Granted, once you get it all done, it's going to be quite impressive. I mean, there's a lot of added detail in this kit. And honestly, getting everything done will truly be impressive. But it's definitely one that you're going to need to spend a lot of time, a lot of patience, a lot of effort on to do and do right. Now, give me a second to get everything back together, and we'll go to final thoughts. So, overall, by itself, both of these kits and just the standard offering are nice little kits that offer, I would say, between a easy and more challenging difficulty. However, in this particular more premium boxing, they've ramped it up to 11 across the board. Granted, once you do get everything assembled, I mean, it'll look fantastic. This is definitely one that could easily, in both cases, be award winners in terms of the quality of the kits. The main thing with these, though, is it's just going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you're going to be in it for the long haul. So that was a look at Academy's 1/35th scale USS Indianapolis and I-58 subkits in their premium edition boxing. Both fantastic kits with a lot of extras added on. However, you're going to need to take some time to do them. So, until next time.